So we are going to tackle one of the topics that seem to be a bit of a stumbling block for many new users, authors in particular. So that would be the optimal way to format your manuscript and then successfully upload the book and publish to our platform. So I'm going to start with some more basic steps and concepts, and then over the next hour or so, we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of the manuscript formatting. So today, during this session, we're going to be focusing on ebooks, and I promise since this is the first of multiple webinars we're going to be doing in 2024, we will be discussing other formats and going more in depth over time, covering specific parts of the process, covering specific formats. So because the goal of this team and the goal of these webinars is to bring the process closer to our clients and to make it easier and more comprehensive. So as I already noted, we are going to be discussing quite a lot. So I will be sharing documentation we have available, so you can reference that when formatting manuscripts and uploading your books. So first thing that's worth noting is that for ebook, the book that you guys upload needs to be in EPUB format, or you can also upload properly formatted Docx into our platform. So most of our clients who are just starting are likely to have their book either in Docx or PDF format. So we're going to start by looking at the conversion process. When it comes to conversion of Docx to EPUB, that is not an issue. We do have the online converter that converts these two, Docx into EPUB for free. Also, that can be a part of the book review and approval process. So the easiest way for you is to create a Docx file according to the guidelines that we'll be going into, and you should be all set. You can convert and upload as EPUB, or you can upload Docx during the process of the book upload. The second most common format that our clients ask about is PDF, and this is where things turn a bit complicated. The reason for this is because PDF and EPUB are fundamentally different file types. As a result, PDF files cannot easily be converted into an industry standard EPUB. So we don't have free conversion for PDF. If you have ever tried using one of the free online converters from PDF to EPUB, those are going to look mangled most of the time. So if you do have a PDF file, what we would recommend is to turn it into a Docx file and then edit it before it gets converted into EPUB. Alternatively, we do offer a professional conversion service from PDF to EPUB, but that is something that comes with a fee. The conversion fee is not fixed, so it is assessed on an individual basis. It is calculated based on the complexity, the length of the book, and the number of pictures. It is also worth noting that it's done manually by a qualified professional. So it's not an automated process. It is done manually precisely because it is a tricky process. Once the book is uploaded, all books have to pass an automatic ebook validation process to ensure quality. So there is no easy way to transform them into an ebook format because, again, similar to the PDF, they're very different formats. I can see if there are any, because there are no standards in the industry, but I can see if there are options, suggestions from the designers. So going back to the validation process. So essentially, ebook stores will only accept valid ebooks, those that have undergone the first automated and then manual validation. It might look okay on a computer or a tablet or specific device. it might not work on another device. So it's intended, the validation portion is intended to make sure that all books work on all devices correctly. So a lot of times we receive feedback from the clients that they don't feel that the validation issue that was flagged is fair. That is not subjective. These rules are established by International Digital Book Forum, and they're consistent throughout the publishers. When you first upload your book, we run ebook validation. We check the book after you uploaded it, and if something is wrong, we either fix the errors or we notify you and guide you toward the solution. This depends on the type of error, because if this is something that is small, we're just going to do that on our end, and then we're going to provide advice on what has been done so you know for the next time. If this is something that is very time consuming, our team is going to share an example and kindly ask you to update the rest. For example, if it's something that repeats consistently throughout the book and needs to be updated manually. Anytime that you do encounter an error that you don't understand or the feedback that you don't understand, you can always reach out to our support team and they can tell you specifically what needs to be updated. I understand that it can be frustrating for the client, but it happens that the feedback is not as clear as we aim it to be, and we're always happy to elaborate on what needs to be fixed for the book to pass the validation. So, all that being said, we can proceed to the actual manuscript formatting, which is typically done in a text processor, Word, or Google Docs. And before we go into the details, I just want to emphasize two rules when you're doing this, because especially in the beginning, it can be overwhelming. First of all, keep it simple. When you are formatting your book, we are looking, you know that it's going to be read on a variety of apps and different devices. A huge majority of them do let users customize the font size, font type, lines, paragraph spacing. I know my mother enjoys reading it with huge fonts because she's getting on. So from the reader's perspective, this is a great feature. For you as an author or publisher, it means that the formatting you're using can, in many instances, it's going to be overwritten by the user, which is why there is no need to spend hours selecting the perfect color for your heading. So that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use any formatting. You absolutely should, and we'll get back to how you're going to be doing that and what are the best practices. But it's worth noting that you want to keep it simple. And the second thing is maintain consistency. Why? Because, first of all, because that's a key thing to create a really nice, tidy EPUB that's going to get accepted on the first go. Because when formatting a book, and we're going to get to the specifics, and I'm going to call out the most common mistakes, which can be very frustrating because they are not immediately visible, not obvious. So you want to make sure that everything is consistent throughout the book. It is a no-brainer, I agree, but when you are copying things from website, copying a link, adding from a different document, it's very easy to just not think about what spacing was used in the previous paragraph or in the previous chapter. That kind of thing, that kind of inconsistency is going to mess up your formatting, and it's something that can be very frustrating. So maintaining consistency definitely is key. So that being said, we're going to move on to the specific directions of the book formatting. Again, I said we're going to be sticking to ebooks, and we're going to be focusing on the text processors that are most commonly used. If you're looking for, again, this is the first webinar of hopefully many to come. So if you have things that you would like to hear about and have our team elaborate on, you're welcome to share that feedback, and we are going to take that into consideration, because ultimately the idea is to share things that our clients want to see. So first thing that we need to be looking at is that when we talked about consistency, I mentioned how important consistency is. In order to maintain it, it is very important to format using general styles, versus the local formatting. So general styles are going to be formatting text at the paragraph level. So since you're working on a document, there is likely to be different formatting throughout the document, especially if we're looking at the book. To start with a clean slate, we want to remove all the formatting first. And I know it can be a hassle, but it needs to be done. We can proceed to format the book correctly in the continuation of the process. So first thing you want to do, you want to clean the entire text. That is the first thing you want to do. Remove the formatting from the entire document. They're done slightly differently in Google Docs versus Word, but I will be showing both. So you are going to be selecting for Google Docs, you're selecting the entire text. Control A is the easiest way. You have the option from format, paragraph styles to apply normal text. Or you can just select all the text in the entire document and then just go select clear formatting option. In Word, it's even easier. You just click clear all formatting button to remove all the formatting for the entire text. So that's the first thing that you want to do, which brings us to the step 2, which includes removing additional formatting settings. And they're going to be a lot, and a lot of them are going to be just nuances that you're going to forget about and that are going to be frustrating. And I know that firsthand. So what do we need to remove? We need to be mindful of automatic numbering. So this is something that is often misunderstood. This is something you can use, but current EPUB standards cannot handle numbered list if the list is breaking somewhere and then trying to continue again. So this breaking part happens if you add extra blank lines or text between the two items, which is shown in the pictures on the left, how you might see it in your text processor, and on the right, how you might be seeing it on the EPUB. You want to switch off the numbering. And obviously you can use it, but you will need to put the numbers manually. To switch off the numbering, you click the numbered list button. And unfortunately, these need to be entered manually. So to clarify, you can use the automatic numbering as long as the list is not breaking. If you need the list to break for whatever reason, you would need to add those numbers manually. Of course, that's not the only thing that we have in terms of additional formatting. This is a pain point. This is very, very common in Word is automatic bullet list for dialogues. So these are often present when working with text because in many books, dialogues are signaled with a dash and not with a quotation mark. Happen because we don't press a dash, we press minus and space, and that's it. That turns it into a bulleted list. The difference is that the length of lines when it comes to minus or bulleted list and length of dash from a dialogue are not the same. So when using these for dialogues, you need to be using dashes to make sure that you're using dashes for these not to become automatically bullet list. Also, page numbers need to be removed. That's pretty self-explanatory. Why? Because otherwise, depending on the device where you're reading the book, those page numbers are just going to be inserted fairly randomly into text somewhere or another. And then you figure out that these are page numbers. So they need to be deleted from footers and headers. To do that in Word, you would open headers and footers menu by double clicking on either top or the bottom of the page, and then select the page number and then delete. In Google Docs, you just double click again on the top or bottom of the page, depending on where the numbering is located, and then you delete it. So, and also one more thing that is not crucial, but it does make a difference in terms of how the book is going to appear and read. If you have used references to page numbers, it's highly recommended that you remove them and that you use a different type of reference rather than see on page 20, you say see in chapter 3. So again, you can do that by searching for the word page and just removing them when you have them. Double spaces are not going to prevent your book from being validated. So it will be validated. But when someone reads it, especially if they're using larger fonts, larger sizes, it's visually less than appealing. So you want to make sure that you remove the double spaces when you get a chance. Also, the same applies to double paragraph breaks. So if you're at the end of the paragraph, just hit enter once and that's it. Don't add extra breaks between the paragraphs, because that's something that we can do later on when you're using styles. So at this point, we are looking at completely removing the remnants of partial formatting that we have, and we're going to go to how best to consistently format the entire manuscript. So let me see, what else do we have? Yes. So one more thing that we want to make sure that you don't have forced line breaks. So we want to make sure that no soft or hard line breaks were used in text where this is not applicable. So when you go to the Home tab in Word to toggle formatting marks icon, you will see all the non-printing characters. You will see paragraph symbol for every hard break. So what you want to be looking at is that you only have paragraph symbol at the end of paragraph and nowhere else. So if you have them in the middle of the sentence, in the middle of the paragraph, it's going to break up your paragraph and it's going to change how it reads. It's going to change the way it looks. So again, it will be readable, but it will affect the reading experience of the user and the overall appearance of your document. So if you see any paragraph break or even soft return that should not be there, you can just delete it. And yes, when we are working with the text editors, what's done very often is starting a chapter on a new page. That being said, don't do it. Don't add more paragraphs break to go to the next page. So because as I mentioned, people are going to be reading a book on different devices. That this is going to change the book's layout. It's not going to be consistent throughout the document. I would also recommend just go Control Enter. You get page break before chapters, and that's it. You can also use insert page break function in Word. It's also available in both Word and Google Docs. That is the easiest way and the cleanest way that's going to ensure that your formatting in the finished product isn't messed up. One more thing that we want to be looking at when we're talking about additional formatting settings is image wrapping, notorious in Word. So ideally, you want your images inserted between two paragraphs on a separate line. So with the image wrapping setting on. So in Word, you do that when you click on the image, you select layout options and you go line with text. You also can do the same thing from the format menu. The important thing is that we want to keep it as simple as possible. It is possible to wrap images in EPUBs, but we are talking about beginner-friendly tips now, and the designers I have spoken to are advising against doing that for people who are still new to making these. You don't want your images larger than 4 megapixels, and obviously you want them to be of good quality. Why 4 million pixels? Because it's enough to provide good quality and not unnecessarily large to increase the size of the book. If this is crucial for the book, that's a whole different story. But if it's an illustration, you want to keep the book size low as a common courtesy for readers who are reading the book on devices with limited storage capacities. As you know, the sizes of the books can vary significantly. There are a couple of more items that we should be mindful of that we don't want included, or rather that we want cleaned up before we go and that we don't want included. So the footnotes need to be converted into endnotes. So it's worth noting that there are many tools for formatting ebooks that would do this automatically. But it's best practice if you do it yourself, and you can decide to place them at the end of the book or at the end of each chapter. That's really depending on the book, on your personal preferences. It's probably most common to place them at the end of the book. One more thing that you want to be mindful of are direct store links. So you can format your manuscript and then you can add links to your website, to your social media, to your Goodreads profile, different profiles. So keep in mind that ebook stores do not allow any link that are directing to competitor sites, for example, links to other stores. So we would advise against adding anything like buy it on Amazon or review it on Google Books. So it's preferable to review the book in the store where you bought it, something neutral, something that doesn't call out a specific vendor, a specific website. So there is always a way around the things that you shouldn't be doing them. It's just that I want to call out the common ones that are most common and that we want to avoid. So that way you get clean text. So you have removed the formatting and now we can use it, we can put it back and using styles. So we are going to be first formatting the body text. This is fairly simple. There are just different options available in different spaces in different word processors. So your body text or the body text of your book is already styled as normal. You can format them as you wish. That is pertaining to sizes, typeface, whatever. Right now, you want to decide whether you want to use indents or spaces to separate paragraphs. It's up to you, but again, consistency, it's recommended to use one option throughout the books. If you are using indents, don't insert a tab in front of the paragraph, just use the ruler at the top. That goes for both Word and Google Docs. If you're using spaces, let me show that. If you're using spaces, use the add space before and after paragraph option. So whichever, looks prettier for you, whichever you prefer to do. So those are done. There are options for that in both Word and Google Docs, depending on what you're going to be using for your documents. Which brings us to styles. So in Word, you can use available styles to apply a set of formatting choices throughout your documents. So if you are changing your paragraph style to one that already exists that are predefined in Word, you can do that by formatting a text according to a paragraph from your book format. So if you have, say, first paragraph is formatted according to your liking, you want that style to be applied throughout the book. So you select a paragraph in your document that has that style applied, and then go to Home tab, Styles group, select the style, and update that style to match selections. That way, you're going to match the rest of your text or the selected text to a predefined paragraph of your text. Also, you can just format text without having any other text for reference. So on the Home tab, right-click any style in the Styles gallery and click Modify. So that is very easy. You can make any formatting changes you want. You also have the opportunity to create a style from scratch. So you don't have to use a predefined style if you don't want. You can use the text that is already formatted in your document to create a new style in the Styles gallery and then apply that style throughout your document. So the same logic that is going to be applied in Google Docs, it's just going to be, as the styling options are going to be positioned in a different way. So you would select your title and your headings, and whenever you want to change a paragraph style, you can do that from the section that is shown on the screen. So you can do that for the headings, for the subtitles. However you want the final document to look, you're going to be doing that for titles, subtitles, the body text. And one more thing that is very important for you is headings. So why the headings? It's crucial for them to be marked that way, because otherwise the software won't see them, won't recognize them to create the table of contents. So you can update the styles to match. In addition to the body text and the headings, there are a couple of more things that you need to add. So when it comes to formatting, this is pretty much the extent of it. You want to make sure that you clean up the body text, you convert it, you format it consistently, and do the same for your headings, subtitles, that you have subheadings, really not subtitles. So once you have done that, you want to, in addition to your document, you need a cover, a title page, a copyright page, and a table of contents. Some of the clients, some of the authors want to add author, biography, maybe other books by the other author, something along those lines, thank you notes, whatever the preferences differ. So these elements are referred to as front matter and back matter. And since I want to be mindful of the time, I'm going to be sharing just specific guidelines on those via an article. So once those items are added, that's it. You just save your document and you either upload it directly into the published drive, or you convert it to EPUB and then upload the EPUB into our system. So, which then brings us to the book upload. So I know this is a lot, but are there any questions before I go into the book upload process? I was hoping that I would do the book upload process directly in the system, but unfortunately I'm having technical issues because there was a huge storm here. So I think my internet is wonky and I'm not sure if that would work. Okay, so let me just go through the book upload. So once you have the materials that you're looking to upload, first of all, you want to make sure that you prepare them. You have the content file that we have just. So going to the book upload. So you want to make sure that you have all your materials so you don't get, yes, Peter, absolutely, I can do that. No problem at all. I hope to have that information for you by end of day tomorrow, right? It's Friday, so yeah, end of day tomorrow. So you want to make sure that you have prepared your metadata, your content file, your cover file. So these are essential. And then you are just going from your dashboard, you are going to navigate to the My Book section, and you are going to click Upload, Book Upload. So when you, this is going to be under My Books menu. First thing you will be prompted to do is select the format. The format is, in this case, is going to be ebook. If there is interest, we can absolutely do audio and print next. Audio is probably the next, is going to be part of the next topic for sure. Again, if anyone does need it, I can share specifics regarding other formats before that, of course. And when you select the format of the book, that brings us to step-by-step upload. So these are the steps, and the steps are going to be highlighted during the process. So there are going to be first the files, the creators details, the metadata, categories, etc. So you will be prompted to select your preferences for stores where you want them distributed as well. So you are going to start with the files, where you can just drag and drop your content file. Whether it's, I'm going to show you where it's going to come when in the if you're using Word file. So you're just going to drag and drop your content file and your cover file, which is going to be a JPEG, into the fields. So once you do the initial upload, we are going to do automated scan and provide correction suggestions if there are any imminent issues. After you add the EPUB file, our system is going to analyze the embedded metadata and populate the fields. You will see what was being populated, and you will be offered an option to either accept or decline the autofilled metadata we have extracted. So you absolutely don't have to use them. So you can just opt out of the autofill. You can input your metadata manually. This is just intended to make things easier for everyone. If you don't have EPUB file, which I mentioned you don't have to, you would select other files and then drag and drop your Word document, your Docx, into the designated source files field. If you do that, you will be prompted to answer 4 questions concerning your book's content and structure, with the conversion option conveniently situated at the bottom. Why you're being asked to do that? Because we do the automated scan of EPUB, it's going to be different for Word. So you're going to be asked if there is a table of contents, if there is a title page, if there is a cover image, and if there is a copyright page. That is going to bring you to the next slide, which is creators. So this is where you're going to add the details regarding the book's contributors, be it author, be it editor, translator. You can also use your pen name. That could be misleading for readers. So, and also the author's name on the cover needs to match the name you enter here. And also all the authors that are mentioned on the cover need to be in the metadata, because otherwise our system is going to flag that and send it back for correction. And that brings us to metadata. You're going to be prompted to add details about a publisher or imprint if applicable. So the publisher, that's what you're going to be, that's the name that will be displayed in the stores as the publisher. Imprint, obviously, only if applicable. Title and subtitle, if there is one. It needs to appear as it appears on the cover. So it's also worth noting that many stores display the subtitle using the same case as the title. They're just separated by a colon when you're browsing. If you can use the pen name, so we received a question, what happens with pen name? You can absolutely use a pen name. It just needs to match with the name that is on the cover. It shouldn't be misleading in a sense that it shouldn't be very similar to if you're writing, I don't know, young adult fantasy, you don't want to have a pen name that is 1 or 2 letters off from a different famous author, that kind of thing. It shouldn't be misleading in that way. I hope that helps. That brings us to series. If the book is part of the series, you want to make sure that it's listed and that is accurate. So why? Because if you're maintaining consistency, that's going to help organization and store pages and make sure that your books are showing up as part of the series. Language is pertaining to the primary language of the book. If there are bilingual books, you can add multiple languages. There is going to be a primary and then there is going to be a secondary. Who is the book aimed at? If you have a course book, if it's mainly in Spanish, but the instructions are in English, you want to put English as the primary language because it's aimed at English speakers who are learning Spanish. So that's why you want to be mindful of the primary versus secondary language for multiple languages, if applicable. Also, you will see number of pages. Obviously, ebooks have a different page number depending on whether you read them on a tablet, which e-reader, whether it's an app, reading app. Some stores are still asking for the number of pages. So you want to enter the number of pages in your print edition, if you have the print edition, or just divide the total number of characters by 1,500. There are stores that even calculate their own numbers based on the length of the book. So, it's not exactly crucial. But the rule of thumb, if you don't have a print edition, divide total number of characters by 1,500. And that brings us to the ISBN. Do you have it? If you have it, yes. If you don't, it's fine. We will automatically assign an identifier to your book. You won't be, so you cannot have the same ISBN for different formats because each of them is going to be counted as a separate title. I have encountered questions whether we offer free ISBNs. Unfortunately, no. If you don't have one, going to automatically assign a different identifier. You're also going to be asked if there is a print edition. If there is, you can enter the details, and we are then going to send them to the stores, which help the stores match print and ebook listings if they're both available. That is the purpose of this question. And obviously, there is a description for the book. You should be describing your book accurately and originally. Don't add reference to prices in the description, so those don't go there, and please do not include anything explicit. The language of the description, as a rule of thumb, matches the primary language of the book. So, and also, since I mentioned bilingual books in the last couple of minutes, if you do have bilingual book, you can add the description in 2 languages in the same field. And we have categories. So you will be prompted to select up to 3 categories for your book. So we have the question, does that mean better publish the print version first and then ebook? No. The only purpose that the question about the print version serves is to help us and to help the vendors, the stores, to match those books and to show them together. There is no obvious reason why you should be going with print first versus ebook. My personal preference would probably be to start with ebook and then go to print. But that is a very, very general opinion because that is going to obviously heavily depend on the book that's in question, the market, the target audience, etc. Going back to categories, so you can select up to 3 categories for your book. And I encourage you to do that and to do it as detailed as you can, because this is going to make a lot of difference, because the book is going to be displayed in the stores within the category that you choose. The more specific you are, the more likely it is that your book is going to find its target audience. So that's the point with the categories, and that's why you want to make sure that those are as specific as they can be. Also, this is where you can indicate whether you have adult content, select the target audience, and add keywords. So obviously adult content is, first of all, going to help the targeting. It's going to be presented to the target demography. But also, as you know, there are stores that don't allow adult content, and automatically you know that the adult content is not going to be sent to some of the stores. Also, yes, you will be prompted to add the price in the main currency, but you can enter price in most currencies the stores are working with as well. You will also be prompted to confirm your copyrights. So if you wrote the book, you will see that there are several available options. If you wrote the book, you're just going to select that option. If you're the publisher, you are going to have to select I have secured rights from the copyright holder. So, and also please note that we do not accept public domain books for distribution. So this has been the case almost since we started. So that remains the case for the time being. If you own the copyright, looking at the world word rights, just click yes. If you're the publisher, then you would check the specific territories. Also, you can select the publication date. You can either set it to today or you can set it to any future date. If you select a future date, you will have the option of pre-orders. What price range do you recommend? That absolutely depends. That really depends on the demography, on the topic. We're talking about ebooks, so you want to be mindful that generally ebooks are priced lower than print and audio. If you want, you can reach out to me directly and tell me about your book, or just share your book with me. I mean, the title and the summary. And then we can talk about that one-on-one, because it is going to depend very heavily on the specific books. And also on the language, also on your target audience. A lot of factors come into play, but I'm happy to advise on a specific instance if that works. So you're also going to be asked to pick the stores where you want to send your book to. So by default, all the stores are going to be enabled. You have the option to enable or disable each and every one of them. For example, I mentioned that not all publishers accept adult content. If you leave everything enabled, you will see as the books get accepted into different stores that the stores that don't accept your type of content have not accepted the book. So that can happen. So you would select the stores where you want to send, and you would proceed to publishing. You have the option at any time to go back and review what you have done. Once you're ready, you press publish, and that's it. Alternatively, if you're not ready to publish, you can just go save draft and close if you would like to come back for editing. Again, after you publish, if you want to change anything, you absolutely can. You can go back, you can change, you can update. It's worth noting, of course, that things that you update are not going to be applicable in the books that have already been sold, but you do have options to review your information or complete or update the data that was added to the required fields. Yes, the required fields, I'm not sure if I mentioned that, they're marked with red and they have a little red asterisk. And if you don't fill them out, the system just won't accept your book. I have mentioned portions of that already, but we have two layers. I'm talking about Publish Drive specifically. So we have both automated and manual review process. So it's not just the system, not just the machine going through the books, it's also a human. So they can often provide, when you do have questions about why something was pushed back or why something was refused, it is probably because our team can give you specifics as to what needs to be updated. You can just reach out to our support team regarding that, and they will happily share the feedback with you and oftentimes rectify the issue as well. But I just want you to be mindful of the fact that there is support when you're uploading your books. If you get stuck, there is support. There is also a chatbot that you can reference that is very, very useful. But there is also a support team who can provide comprehensive feedback regarding the issue that you're encountering. So I think that I have answered the questions that we have seen in chat. I apologize again for the misunderstanding about the times. I promise that won't happen again. And I also promise that we will have additional webinars again. And the recording is going to be made available for our users, particularly because the misunderstanding about time. I thank you all for staying today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us through form on our site, reach out through our email addresses. We are looking forward to working with everyone, and we really are here to answer the questions you have, be it about the book upload, book formatting, anything that you encounter on that front. We have a question. I have a question about ebook versus. Okay, we are gonna, thank you for the suggestion about the seminar for audiobooks. I'm going to bring that as a suggestion. As I said, we don't have a defined topic for the next webinar. This is just the first one in a series. We're gonna be doing more precisely because the goal is to make these topics closer to our clients and make them more accessible. A question about ebook versus written in my book that was previously published on Amazon. So if you previously published your book on Amazon, if you want, I'm not sure if this is something that you already published with Publish Drive. If so, you can reach out to me via email and I can advise on a specific topic. If you have published your book on Amazon and you want to use us to publish it to others while leaving it on Amazon, you can do that. If you want to withdraw your book from Amazon and then use us to publish it and distribute to Amazon and other stores, you can do that as well. Does that answer your question? Also, I will be happy to take a look at a specific title if you already published with us, or if you have a situation, if you want to reach out to me one-on-one, feel free to reach out. Okay, so it's more of a formatting question. Okay, so can you please elaborate? Correct. You can reach out through customer success at publishdrive.com. Okay, thank you, everyone. I apologize about the miscommunication on the time. We will keep you posted via emails again about any upcoming webinars, and there will be a follow-up email. I really appreciate everyone who stayed, and I promise this is not going to be the last webinar. And also, please feel free to reach out with questions because we really want to help our clients utilize our system to the maximum. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the upcoming weekend and see you in one of the upcoming. Thank you.